Guys, so welcome back. I told you I was going to have an interview from one of my friends who's in the medical profession. This is Mary Margaret Han. I'm going to let her introduce herself in a few. But this is just going to help us as we're kind of talking about the birthing process and we're talking about human development of someone who has like really firsthand knowledge about this. Like we can read all things in the books, but Mary Margaret has like stories and experience. I think it'd be beneficial for us to get like just a clear picture of some of these things. So want to start with this. So, Mary Margaret, kind of tell us about yourself and tell us what got you into nursing.
Yeah, so Darren said, my name is Mary Margaret. I'm married to Andrew Hanna. He also went to seminary here. I have a son named James. He's like 19 months old now.
He's the cutest.
He's the cutest, besides Karis and Shala.
I know.
Yeah, so we moved to New Orleans about 5 years ago, and we've been here ever since and plan on staying. And yeah, Andrew, my husband, is starting a church, so that's what we're doing now. We're not busy at all. And yeah, so nursing, I always grew up. I just loved caring for people. I always had baby dolls in my hands. I love babies. Started babysitting when I was like in seventh grade. And my mama always told me, she was like, I don't see you staying in Mississippi. I see you moving off and doing things for the Lord. So I always thought I would be called to like missions. So that's really why I chose nursing. I knew I could do it anywhere over the world. If I needed to get into a country, I knew I could use nursing as that platform. And then when I met Andrew, he also thought he was going overseas, so that just kind of solidified
And now
nursing for me. So yeah, now we're in New Orleans, which kind of feels sometimes like a third world country.
Yeah, yeah. And then also, Mary Margaret, I want to give you opportunity because like you guys are like kind of starting a church just for like those who are kind of looking for a church if they're like in New Orleans at any point in time. What's the name of you guys' church?
Yeah, Harvest Church. We're meeting at Phyllis Wheatley Community School in Treme. We just launched yesterday. Well, Sunday, the September 19th. So I guess 2 days whenever this airs. But yes, so that's just now starting. We're really excited. Andrew has worked really hard, so we're happy to be starting that.
Yeah. So guys, if you're in NOLA looking for a church, like Harvest Community Church meets in the Treme area, Phyllis Wheatley, like
Hit us up.
yeah. So kind of get us back. So yeah, essentially like all right, man, you found out I can do nursing from anywhere. Met Andrew. You're like all right, we can kind of do these things like anywhere. So now kind of draw us a little into like what you do, Mary Margaret, in the sense of like all right, give us kind of paint this picture for us. For those who are not in the medical profession, those who don't see these things day by day, like help us understand kind of that birthing process. I know that's a big question, but help us understand that a little bit.
It's a very broad question. So when people think labor and delivery, they automatically assume that's just where you go to have your baby. But labor and delivery is really a bigger thing than that. It kind of functions as an emergency room type situation as well. So you have triage, which is when you come and the nurses assess the needs of a patient. They're trying to either rule out labor. If they're not in the labor, we can maybe give them fluids and send them home and on their way. See if they're contracting. Some people just come in and they say, hey, I haven't felt my baby move in 3 days. Can you monitor the baby, see how things are going? And so, yeah, nurses do a wide variety in labor and delivery, not just delivering babies. Also, if someone has a car wreck and they're typically more than 20 weeks pregnant, they go straight to labor and delivery. So people in the ER don't really like to deal with pregnant women. It's a scary thing because if you're not used to monitoring and used to just the anatomy of pregnancy, people get kind of scared to deal with that. So we see a lot of those patients as well, just people coming in for high blood pressure, things like that. So we monitor not just the delivery process, but anybody that's above a certain amount of weeks, they come straight to the labor and delivery unit.
Yeah, and that's because like as we kind of read in our books, like that man, it's a very critical point because the child's developing like so much, and something so much can be affected by like what happens on the outside of what happens to the mother. So you as a nurses and doctor like assessing and be like, all right, this person is this many weeks like pregnant, like we need to like pay attention to this. We need to like take blood pressure and different things like that. And even as we read in our books, just even that sense of Braxton Hicks like contraction where people come in and say like, I think I'm having my baby, I'm going into labor, but it's like, oh man, not really, yes, but it feels like it.
People get so disappointed when we send them home.
Yeah, and then so as you're kind of there as nurse, and like how do you guys like serve them? How do you guys like serve these expectant mothers, or even to the point of like once they birth the baby in the hospital, like what are you guys' roles?
Yeah, so I would think the biggest thing that we do is education. From the time they come in for their first appointment to the time we send them home after their baby's been born, and even every appointment after that with babies whatsoever. But we educate nonstop, which is really the best thing for moms. It doesn't matter if it's your first baby or your 13th baby, you're still going to have questions. Every pregnancy is different, every baby is different. And so I think that's the biggest thing that we can offer our patients. In the delivery room, there's lots of coaching, helping. You offer pain medicine. You want them to be as comfortable as possible. Making sure that they're on the monitor the right way, helping moms know the difference between their heartbeat, the baby's heartbeat, and things that are going on. Checking them, their dilation and everything. I can go over more of that in a minute. And then as far as like postpartum, we help mostly with like breastfeeding, formula feeding, things like that, changing diapers, teaching moms how to swaddle. And then throughout this whole process, even from day one, first OB appointment, we're offering them resources. We give them pamphlets of WIC, how to get free food whenever you go home, making sure they have a safe environment, making sure they feel safe, making sure they have support. And now our social worker, they come by to every patient. They used to just do the ones who are at risk or like teenagers, but now they go see everybody to make sure they do follow up, and it's been super helpful. We have a great social worker.
Yeah. Man, so that's a lot, man, Mark. Y'all are doing a lot like inside of like for these spectrum moms to make sure like they get the education, they connect to the resource that they need. You have the social work to kind of help you guys because once again, it's just that critical point of like as you even just said, like every pregnancy is different, and moms may have those different questions, and then a nurse is there to be like, hey, we want to make sure you feel safe, we want to make sure you're comfortable as possible while you're here, and man, so that's just a lot.
It's a lot. It's exciting though.
Yeah, and then so remember you kind of talked about like that sense of all right, you guys are checking dilation and different things like that, and you say you're kind of followed there a little bit later.
Yeah.
Give us kind of a little bit more of that picture.
So through the birthing process, dilation when we come to check a patient, dilation is you start at 0 centimeters, you dilate all the way to 10 centimeters, and then once you're at 10 centimeters, you're ready to start pushing. And so a nurse can check you, a doctor can check you, and they're updating you along the way. And then as far as like expulsion, that's from when you're 10 centimeters all the way to when you deliver. So that's that time frame. And then after birth is baby's been born, that's the delivery of the placenta. So there are just some simple definitions for what those things kind of qualify.
No, and I think that's so helpful because like we have those definitions and those terms like in our book of like what it looks like and what it means, but you kind of give it a little bit more vivid picture of like, hey, this is what's actually happened like during those times. And then so even just thinking about, man, so you guys are doing so much as nurses and like helping the mother, giving them education, making them feel safe. And man, when I hear things like that, man, that sense of like loving and serving like mothers like that. And I'm just curious for you, Mary Margaret, like what are some things that the Lord's kind of taught you just through witnessing like some of these things?
Oh yeah. So I've been to a lot of deliveries, and there's never been a moment where you're not like just in awe of what the Lord can do through a man and a woman having a baby, and it's always exciting. There are times when it's really scary. You don't know how it's going to come out, and then you hear that baby cry, and everything just kind of fades away, and you're excited. And and so I think just seeing from the moment of conception all the way to sending the baby home in his or her car seat, you could just see the growth and development of a child and just how amazing that is. And you think about, well, God really did create us so intricately and uniquely, and he cares about us from the time we're itty bitty to the time that we're able to hold you in your arms. So yeah, just like that awe and reverence of the Lord and his creation and how he truly does care about every baby that's been born.
Yeah, no, and we've been kind of talking about in our like lectures about like, man, it starts as small as like the zygote, and then 9 months later, like you got a whole baby, and it's just like this wonderful thing, like the Lord like it's still shaping and forming them. They're fearfully and wonderfully made in the womb.
Absolutely.
And it's just this beautiful thing. Now we do want to acknowledge it, man. We just understand the scriptures and like how it says, Genesis 3:16. We're like, man, he increases like the labor pains, and you guys kind of see some of that pain. But at the end, you see like this beautiful thing of like, this is a baby that the Lord is like fearfully, wonderfully made in the womb, and you hear that cry, and you're like, oh, another one.
Yeah.
Another time the Lord's delivered.
It's amazing.
So with that, Mary Margaret, just to hone in our time just a little bit in the sense of, so tell us a little bit more, like, this is that bonus question. So tell us about like those kind of blessings and then challenges of like working in kind of the medical profession.
Oh yeah. So the blessings obviously, is your thing still on?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. The blessings obviously getting to see babies be born. As a nurse, we get excited about like even the baby's first pee and first poop, things like that. Getting to see brand new moms have a baby and getting to see their siblings come and see their sibling for the first time, things like that. And yeah, just the happiness that a baby brings. Our unit, like when our security guards come up to our floor, they're like, we just love coming to your floor because it's so happy. And every time a baby's born, the little ding, the lullaby goes off. And so it's an exciting place to be. Obviously, there's a lot of challenges. Even this past year, we've seen a lot of really late miscarriages. We think a lot of it has been related to COVID. But so that's always hard, seeing a mom lose a baby. And if they're below a certain week gestation, postpartum takes care of those miscarriages. So it's never easy seeing a mom lose a baby. And also, whenever we discharge a patient, we might not know where they're going home to, and if it's a safe environment. After the hurricane, I had multiple patients say, like, we don't have a place to go. And I was like, you can stay here as long as you can. And then I got in trouble for saying that. But I cannot just let somebody go home without, knowing that they're safe. That's really hard for me. And you have people that don't know how to, like, fasten a car seat. And so we're not allowed to touch a car seat unless we're trained. So knowing that like a baby may not be safe on the ride home is really scary. So things like that, that's another great resources. I know like the police departments, fire departments, they do free car seat checks. So always referring people to things like that to make sure that the baby is as safe as possible. And then very common, we have lots of babies that are born, addicted to drugs because of their moms. So having to wean them off of morphine and just seeing the effects of that is really sad.
And in that sense of like, man, you get to see like the blessings of like, man, the birth of a child, and then like the reunion of like the brothers and sisters, because they get to see like this child for the first time and be like, oh, this is my little brother, this is my little sister. But then those challenges of like, man, you see sin and you see like the effects of sin on a woman's body, but also like, man, I'm going out into a place where it's dangerous. But even to the point we talked about this in some of our lectures of like, man, how drugs and what a woman puts into her body really affects her child and has adverse effects on the child. They're like coming out into the world, different things like that. So the beauty of birth, but then like that, the effects of sin that you get to see. And in each profession we get to see those in a different like capacity, but you get to see it in a sense like as it particularly just relates to like vulnerable babies coming into the world. But so with that, Mary Margaret, man, I really appreciate you just kind of taking some time with us and kind of helping us get a clear picture about these things.